John mentioned just how excited investors are for this space. And they've been pretty interested in food and beverage overall for as long as, for at least the past 5 years. And that interest has never been higher. And one of the key reasons for that, I think, is that what's really attracting more and more people is the idea that disruption, like an ingredient or like technology, is hitting the beverage business at so many levels, from where they're purchased to their preparation ingredients, to the idea that new consumers are reinventing themselves, diet first, delivery second, and what they demand is so different from what they've been served. And that interest has led to interest from a newer, different group of venture capitalists as well. They aren't necessarily former entrepreneurs or industry members. They're often coming from outside, but they see in beverage what they've seen in other areas. The ability to disrupt the way brands are marketed, what new lifestyle trends might be, thoughts about how cash can be best deployed. And so we pulled together a panel of 3 investors who've all grown very active in the beverage space over the past couple of years to discuss their ideas about the relationship between entrepreneurs and their backers. So I'm going to introduce Tracy Dubb, who's a co-founder of M3 Ventures, Bryan Bulte, managing partner of LivWell Ventures, and Patrick Finnegan, the founding partner of TGZ Capital. Please come up and join me. Hi, welcome. More traffic victims. Good to see you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, this is the first time we've all sat down. It's nice, isn't it?
It's comfy.
So tell the audience about yourselves, how you got into it, what you're doing now, what brands you're in, your check size, and the background of your interest. Tracy, why don't you start off?
Sure. I'm Tracy Dubb. My firm is M3 Ventures. My background is CPG and retail through and through. I worked in banking, I worked in consulting, private equity, and then finally found my way to M3 Ventures. Our check size is typically in the $250,000 to $2 million range. Probably initial check size is closer to $1 million or less. And we're a consumer products sort of lifestyle brand, so we invest in beverage and we also invest in other things in the consumer space. So we're really we get really excited about brands that have lifestyle elements to them. And that goes for beverage as well. And typically we're the first institutional investor in a lot of our investments, not exclusively, but it's sort of where we like to play. That's pretty much it.
Bryan?
Yeah, I'm with LivWell Ventures. We're about the same stage as you guys, $250 to $2 million checks. We're based in Austin. We're actually a family-backed firm. My partner started Nutrabolt, which is the C4 brand. Saw some of you guys drinking. Lately, we've been really kind of focused on beverage, not on purpose. Just kind of stack ranking other opportunities. Those kind of keep floating to the top for some reason. Let's see, our latest investments, we're in on Weller, who's just on stage. Lemon Perfect. Yanni's here, I'm sure you've heard him talking. Yerbe. Let's see, Ample, I'm going to forget some of them. Big Swig. Yeah, so hyper-focused on kind of food, beverage, nutrition, and tech, kind of in the wellness space is kind of where we live.
Hey, everyone. My name's Patrick. I started TGZ Capital when I was 19. I was one of the youngest VCs in the country, and I saw this huge white space where there was so much money being deployed and no value being created. So I was friends with a lot of young social media personalities and actors and actresses, and spun off TGZ. Our typical check size was $50,000 to $250,000, and then follow on. Now I do more like $100,000 to $1 million, and then follow on. But agnostic consumer, I just saw a founder I invested in that Tracy also invested in, Ben from Recess. Dirty Lemon, I heard Zach was here earlier. A bit tardy though. I invest in things that I can add value to. I think there's so much money out there right now, and there's not that much value being created with this money. So whether it's social media, celebrity co-investment, or just creating an organic story for my generation, because now Gen Z is, quickly becoming very powerful. Helping create that authentic narrative is important, and so I'm spinning off my second fund, which will be announced in a few weeks. So you'll be hearing about that.
Capital's not bringing in what it should. What should it add? Is it that sort of value-added investor approach?
Yeah.
And what do y'all bring?
I think value add means something different to every investor. I think a lot of investors can bring a different type of value add to each investment, but I think that the most important thing really is for founders to be really clear on what they want from an investor, and to also, as importantly, follow up, be really organized, take the initiative, and sort of make it easy for the investor to add value.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't.
No, go ahead.
Just kind of thinking, I think a lot of investors almost overstate their value sometimes too. You see that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, how many investors aren't value add, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? I didn't say, hey, I'm the man, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z for you. I said, for example, I invested a lot of money into Hims, which is extremely competitive. And I remember when I went to see the founder in San Francisco, he's like, look, dude, you're 21 years old. Like, what are you going to do for me? And I was like, well, you're spending all this money on Subway ads. What if you were able to get like some of the biggest celebrities in the world to talk about your brand for free? And what if we could even get them to invest where they're not passive celebrity investors, because a lot of celebrities will invest, but their family offices will put a bunch of red tape behind it, so then it defeats the whole purpose. I said, why don't we get them to invest and publicly endorse it? And he's like, okay, so prove it to me. I was like, okay, I will. And I did. So I think it's like, you don't want to like be like, I'm the man, I'm going to do these 100 things. I'm like, what are the things that need to be done? It could be getting in touch with a CMO in a foreign country because you're launching in the United Kingdom. It could be getting a Gen Z, makeup influencer to endorse a product and show up to the store for free. It's hustle. It's not, oh, I'm a Harvard genius. No, I'm not. I'm a dropout in high school. But it's like thinking on your feet and hustling and not overstating your value,
Yeah.
Like Tracy and I, we do a lot of deals together. We don't walk in there and we say we can do these 100 things, but we can do a lot of things, and we slowly but surely build that relationship and rapport with the founder, and then, 50,000 people on social media are talking about it because of our value add.
Yeah.
Bryan, you were saying?
Oh, no. I mean, that's great. I didn't know you were in on Hims. That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, I just think some entrepreneurs, they almost think that, these investors are going to be like the lifesavers, for their company, and sometimes it's not the case, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big pet peeve for me when people ask, sort of like, what can you do for us? It's kind of like, well, what do you need? If you tell us, we can have like a real conversation about it and hopefully add value. But it's one of the advantages of being a small firm, as we all are, and being relatively young. We can really like spend time and be hands-on, but no one's going to build your company for you. So we're not going to be like a magic bullet to anyone.
Unless it's a magic social media bullet.
Which can happen.
It's Patrick.
Why are you guys so interested in beverage?
Want me to take this?
You can start it, yeah.
I mean, I think beverage is the most like vibrant part of grocery overall to start. And I think beverage represents an area of food, which is so important to people, and and they're always constantly eating it, thinking about it, trying to get it, that can have a life of its own and can draw on things like music and culture and sports and fashion and can exist in a lot of different places. Ben from Recess is a pretty good example of a beverage brand that's really building a lifestyle, because people love beverage and are loyal to beverage and buy it so often, and the price point is low. It actually, it's an exciting category. That's why so many people are trying to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think, for us, you think about snacks, kind of like what Rapoli was saying earlier. You drink, 3, 4, 5 beverages a day. Snacks, you might eat maybe 1 a day. Some people are trying not to snack. I like the multiples in beverage as well. I think it's a very clean system too. You have your acquirers up here, you have your PE shops. There's a secondary layer that's forming. For us, C4 is really starting to take off, and we're starting to get a little smarter around the beverage side of things. Just some board members and stuff that we brought on. So, just kind of naturally happened, I think, for us.
Yeah, I mean, Tracy touched on it. This whole idea of a lifestyle brand, for me, the reason why I invested in beverage was it was easy for me to insert value. Whereas if you're a SaaS platform, I don't know how I can add value. So with Dirty Lemon, I always said Zach's Dirty Lemon Zach. It's a lifestyle brand that represents Zach as a person, but comes out as a brand. And so I think that to what Ben's doing in Recess, people in my office, because I share an office with a friend of mine, we invest in a few companies together, and I'm also young, but the young employees, they all are more obsessed with wearing the Recess merchandise than they are drinking the actual beverage, because there's this element of FOMO that's been created because of what Ben's done, and Dirty Lemon's done the same thing. So I think that it's a good entry point, and to the point about snacks, I mean, the only time I really buy snacks are in the airport, or if I'm late at night going to the convenience store to buy toothpaste, and then I'll buy a Rice Krispie treat. My fridge is always stocked with beverage, but I don't really, I don't really eat snacks, on the go, whatever, but I have no loyalty to a snack brand. But to a beverage brand, I have 5 different beverages in my refrigerator every week, like clockwork, delivered to me. So I think that for Gen Z also, there's no loyalty to snacks, but with beverage, with the certain validation points, we have enough FOMO where we're okay, we're going to buy that beverage.
Is that interest making it more expensive for y'all to get in? I mean, there's so many people looking at beverage now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sucks, don't it?
Yeah.
It's better to be early, that's for sure.
Yeah, the other thing I like about beverage too is, it's one of the only categories that hadn't been really Amazoned yet, because it's really hard, D2C beverage, besides, Dirty Lemon. There's a couple Hint has done well, Soylent, but you really don't have a ton of D2C beverage businesses out there. So, if you look at the retail shelf, there's a limited space, right? But with snacks, I mean, there's thousands of food products, on Amazon, right? It's kind of another reason why we like it.
What stage are you looking to get involved with beverage companies?
We're kind of post-seed, you guys too?
Yeah, we've done everything from pre-launch to a convertible note before a B round. But given the valuations and the just competitive nature of investing in this space, for us it's really nice to be seed, seed 1 or 2.
Where do you want to see the companies themselves, though?
We were looking for trailing 12-month of $1 million, but now it seems like it keeps raising. Now it's $3 million, just because there is so much deals coming in beverage. I don't know about you guys.
I mean, when you say where do we want them to go,
at what stage in their
milestone.
development as a company do you want to try and invest?
I've invested, like Tracy said, pre-seed very early. I was in the seed round of Recess, Dirty Lemon. I just invested in Minna, this new beverage that's catering to a LaCroix audience and has a really interesting take on it. But I think that I also now more as I become savvier as an investor, I think it's better to see some revenue because there's so much hype being created and these ridiculous valuations where they have 3 months of revenue and they're worth $30 million. So I think that as I go into this institutional fund mode, I think I want to see some more revenue and growth. And also, I think a lot of these founders of these beverages companies can really drink their own Kool-Aid and get obsessed with their own ego, but they don't actually have strategic CPG, team members. And then they're like, wait, I just raised millions of dollars and I don't have any team members. And I'm like, wait, what? You didn't tell this in investment discussions. So I think that there's been this like crazy rush because of the acquisitions and the buys of the world, and everyone's trying to. Rohan's a friend of mine. Everyone's trying to look up to Rohan and what he's done, but it's like there's only one Rohan for a reason. So I think that now it's about being a little more conservative and saying, okay, like I understand the hype of your brand. You have a lot of followers on social media. Where's the revenue? Where's the growth? What's the retention? And getting more into the mix, which I'm okay with paying a higher valuation if the numbers show.
What are brands getting right about social media and e-com, Patrick?
Pardon?
What are brands getting right or not right with their use of social media and e-com?
I mean, to touch on Recess again, they're telling a story that doesn't even relate to a beverage, right? So they're building this all-encompassing moat so that even if you don't love the beverage, you want to be attached to it somehow because eventually they're going to make a product that tastes good, and regardless, you're gonna.
One would hope, right?
I like the taste of Recess, but I asked friends of mine, and they're like, I don't love the taste, but I love what they did in their pop-up. I love their merchandise. You know what I mean? I drink Recess, but not everyone does. But all of my friends are talking about it and wanting to be a part of it because it's a movement. So I think that social media is a way to tell this story from a different, from the traditional programmatic advertising, billboards, subway ads. You can actually tell a story. Whereas with those, it's very stagnant.
Do you think that's enough?
I think a brand like Recess, it was really important for them to be, have an extreme presence on social media, and I think they've done an amazing job, and I also think it's delicious. But I think it depends on the brand. We have a lot of beverage brands that are doing, incredible work growing their brand with maybe a little bit less of a social media presence, but they know how to, they know who their customer is and they know how to meet their customer where they are. For them, it might not make as much sense to spend so much time and energy on digital. They might want to spend it on sampling or whatever else it is. So I think you have to know your space. CBD and adaptogens is a really new, really millennial, really young space that I think is like primed for social media.
How is C4 growing? Is it based on social media or is it more knowing your customer?
So C4 is interesting because they have this massive pills and powder business that's been around for over a decade. And so the beverage, they already had customers going into it. So now that they're getting distribution, with the can, their social media is strong. I think they have like 400,000 followers. They can do certain things with it when they need to. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's like the biggest focus for them right now.
You've got a real lifestyle portfolio. How is there a thesis around how that affects the beverage brands you're investing in?
Yeah, we kind of, we're agnostic to an extent. So our thesis is really around brands that are kind of capitalizing or in front of the way that people are changing their lifestyle, and a huge part of that is health and wellness. I think and we're essentially within all of the verticals that we invest in looking for people who are doing it in a really unique way. When we met Jeff Richards from Mooala, it was early days, but we thought he just had such a unique take on a pretty crowded category, which was the nut milk and dairy-free milk category. And when everyone else was sort of trying to be all white and very chic, he was thinking about the family and making a product that was fun for mom and kids, and he really carved out a niche for himself. In other spaces, we invest in stuff like like Recess or like Rumble boxing, like very millennial driven concepts. So it's really just about, you know, do you have a community? Are people kind of excited to like represent your brand in the world, and can you fit into our like portfolio of brands and cross market and kind of draw on one another in a sort of new and fresh way?
You want your brands working together.
Yeah, I think when you walk into our office, we have all of our brands like up on a shelf, and they all look really good together.
Aside from looking good together, do you do programming with them together?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're big on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you've got a distributor, right?
Yeah.
So how is the whole C4 organization working within your portfolio?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this. You gave us that question ahead of time, and you know, if you talk to Doss, he would probably tell you that he gets more out of our emerging brands than actually the brands get out of him. You know, they're again 400 plus employee company, so I would say I get a lot out of them. Anytime I need a supplier, contact, flavor company, whatever. But, you know, as we invest, it seems like the more beverages we invest in, the more cross collaboration that's happening, and they're all kind of growing together. So it's kind of cool to see. But yeah, C4, they have a great growth marketing team. So kind of walking the brands in there when they need to. I don't think I'm supposed to do that, but I still do it. I just walk.
It's like, oh, it's Bryan again.
Yeah, oh, Brian's here again with all his brands, you know. But yeah.
So, Patrick, what's deal flow like for you?
Deal flow is constant. You know, it's through social media, email, friends, advisors, LPs. Right now, I'm in like kind of mostly focusing on my new fund. So, you know, I've done some, like I did Recess through an SPV, and I personally invest in deals. So, I mean, I constantly, one of my issues, my lawyers are like, why are you focusing on looking at new deals when you should be focusing on your new fund?
It's hard.
But you want to be current. Yeah. And I have like another Instagram that I use to like follow all these different brands that I keep tabs on, you know. I have FOMO too.
Well, there's nothing worse than missing out on a deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you two, I mean, how are you guys tracking deal flow?
It's crazy. I mean, it's constant. And beverage is, I think, one of the, because we see everything that's sort of happening in consumer, and beverage is definitely one of the top, if not the top. So, and it only keeps increasing.
Let's talk about different beverage types or product types, and take the temperature real quick. Alkaline water.
Pardon?
Alkaline water.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it. I think something we've talked about is this whole idea, and I even talked to you about, and I tell Zach this all the time with Dirty Lemon. Being exclusive in 2019 doesn't work. So alkaline water, all my friends that drink alkaline water and have those machines, they live in West Hollywood or Beverly Hills or maybe New York City, but most of them live in LA. They have this, you know, $1,000 thing on their faucet. You know, it's like, that's not going to scale, right? So if I own 70% of that company and in 10 years it's making a few $1 million a year, great. But otherwise, it's really tough. So I think that alkaline water is interesting, but it has to be inclusive. It can be aspirational. It can be really eloquent branding. It can be elevated, but it has to be affordable, and it can't be exclusive. It has to be inclusive.
You don't think the CPG aspect of it is inclusive, though?
I do, but I think that what everyone's talking about, at least from my deal flow perspective, is like, oh, let's make it really fancy and special, and, you know, I don't know. There's so many water brands right now. I mean, I don't know what, and I have a friend that owns a huge water brand with two of the biggest celebrities, Mark Wahlberg and Sean Combs, and they're also, like, what's happened to that brand? You know what I mean? It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. How about herbal tonics?
There's a lot of them.
A lot of them?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of similar to alkaline water. When you start to see, for me at least, when you start to see so many, you get nervous about how much competition and how they differentiate themselves. So I think for us, we would be open to it, but they would have to be doing something. Maybe it would mean we'd want to get in after they've had a bit more proof of concept, but they would just have to be doing something that we think is really special.
How about mixers?
I don't know. Mixers.
I haven't gotten there yet on a mixer company. I think there's, again, a lot of interesting stuff happening in alcoholic beverage and people trying to live healthier lifestyles and not drink as much or make sure their drinks are mixed, with functional ingredients or whatnot. But I guess I haven't seen the path yet to like mainstream success for any of those companies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there will be one.
What do you think of the sustainable water plays like Cove and there was that one that launched on on Earth Day that had that huge social media campaign with the bottle? What do you think of that?
So do you mean sustainable packaging or sustainable sourcing?
They're saying both, right? They're saying all around sustainable.
I think sustainability is a good thing. I mean, I think the consumer is probably geared toward, certainly the Gen Zs and the millennials are pretty interested in having there be a generation AA and BB after Z. So, I think it's a good idea to have sustainable sourcing. On the other hand, I don't have any money. So interviewing me on that topic
Just start
Probably-
interviewing Jeff now.
probably isn't the best idea.
I think it's going to become extremely important. Like
Yeah.
it's happening in other parts of consumer, and I think it's only a matter of time, especially as Gen Z ages and what's everything that's happening even within plastic right now. I mean, I think plastic's sort of on its deathbed a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as just
especially in Canada, right?
Yeah. So I hope it continues to become important. I think probably everyone can do better, but I think just based on what we're seeing in other categories, it will be.
Yeah. So I think actually it's an interesting question here as we're trying to pick the winners, and we're asking these guys to pick the winners. And I want to thank you for helping us learn how you pick the winners. And our next speaker is also going to talk to us about how he picks the winners. So thank you very much, all of you, for taking us into this space.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.